Well, there we go. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. I know we'll have plenty of folks joining in as we go, but welcome everybody for this is actually November's Lead and Learn. We had to reschedule due to the Thanksgiving holiday here in the U.S. But just wanted to welcome everybody. This month, we're going to discuss just the wild west in the industry, right? The e-commerce portion of our business. It is something that is growing. It's an ever-changing landscape. So we want to share some best practices on just learn a little bit more about what it is and how to navigate it. So today, I think what we'll do is I'm going to share some information. I know we have Sam, who is a very seasoned e-commerce sales professional on the call. I believe we've got some other folks that will be joining that might play in the sandbox as well, but just in a different side of it. But kind of like Sam said, before we even start, kind of give you high level points of what I planned on sharing was kind of, what is the current state of e-commerce and how it relates to the home furnishings industry. What does it take to be successful in it? What are some misconceptions? How does it work for a rep? How does it work for a manufacturer, a retailer? What are some of the key challenges that face the e-commerce ecosystem? And then really just like, what are the basic ways to succeed, or how does one take advantage of this? And then we wanted to tie it back to, how can e-commerce, just generally speaking, help the traditional brick and mortar retailer? So before we dive in, I think Sam was onto something great there, which is, what is it that y'all want to gain from this? Are there any specific topics that you guys wanted to dive in? I know John, I know Larry, you guys said you kind of want to get a better understanding of it. You want to learn how to use it to your advantage or benefit from it, or how to help your customers benefit from it. What else are we hoping to gain from this today?
I would just say, just any angle. I think Larry pointed this out. Any advantage we can get in terms of the competition, in terms of being able to talk to retailers, and I mean, we know this is not going away. So by any means, so how do we take advantage of it and really use it to help the retailers?
Okay, great. All right, so I'll tell you what. I'm going to share my screen here in just a moment. I actually went ahead and made some slides just to kind of hit some bullet points that I wanted to talk about. And then we can dig in and have a deeper conversation about just that specifically and how it relates to the retail side of the business. Let me see if I could do this real quick here. And can y'all see my whole screen, or is it everything? Or just PowerPoint?
Everything.
Everything? Cool. All right, well, that works. Or let me switch it to just PowerPoint so I can just show my notes separately. And if not, I'll just skip this and I can share the PowerPoint later.
Oh my God, it's Jay Rue.
All right, there we go. All right, let's see if this works. And cool. All right, hopefully y'all can still see everything okay. But just current state of e-commerce, I went online and pulled some just basic information. In 2023, the U.S. home furnishings market was estimated to be $120 billion. And currently, e-commerce sales is equating to almost 30%, which has grown since, every year, but up from 24% in 2020. Currently, one of the reasons why I think it's all important that we take a closer look at this segment of the industry or the business is it's outpacing brick and mortar growth. So online sales have been growing at a rate of about 15% annually, compared to 2% for traditional brick and mortar stores. Um, some of that is has been driven by just the convenience factor, the the selection that might be available online that may not be available in store, um, and just the ease of use, right? Convenience, and then really the part of it is also that when you look at the demographics that currently have the most spending power, it's Gen X and millennials, and they are just by default just a little more tech savvy, um, which is why they're a little bit more comfortable and familiar with purchasing online. And there's also been plenty of technological advancements, kind of like augmented reality, which are giving folks the ability to see something in their room before they put it there. And there's been plenty of improvements with the supply chain and logistics networks with a lot of these customers, to where it's a lot easier to get those large parcel items delivered to you directly. So,
Hey, Steve, sorry
yeah,
to interrupt. Are you going to be able to send us this?
absolutely.
This?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right. So next step is, what does it take? What does it take for brands to get online? What does it take to service this? But actually, I don't think I noticed it on here. I don't think I said it on here, but just the ecosystem as it sits today. So there are so many different channels, so many different platforms that you can sell through in so many different ways. When we talk about e-commerce in general, that is a very broad statement. It can mean so many things to so many different people. And so I think as it relates to home furnishings, and this is just my humble opinion, is you've got your B2B sales. So that's where a brand is selling to platforms like Wayfair, Amazon, and you're listing your product on those platforms directly. Um, we have several customers that are out there now that are going direct to consumer. They're leveraging their own websites. They're focusing on social platforms. You've got, and they're focusing on SEO and content to connect with customers. You've got the omnichannel retailers. So it's like, I look at that as some of the biggest ones as it relates to furniture specifically. Is you've got like Lowe's, Home Depot, Costco, Walmart, right? Like those are obviously big, massive omni-channel retailers. And really there it's kind of a different ball game altogether, because you're really having to work within these ecosystems and make sure that inventory is syncing between online and in store. If you're trying to do both, it's a little bit different than some of the other platforms. And then you have marketplace platforms, which is like GigaCloud, for example. If anyone's familiar with that or seen it popping up, GigaCloud is B2B2C, which is where brands can list their product on their marketplace, which is then full of third-party sellers who are taking the products and listing it on another marketplace or on another platform, and selling it that way. But it kind of streamlines everything under one marketplace umbrella. You have companies out there that are strictly focusing on the marketplaces altogether, which, you know, I don't want to spend a ton of time digging into it, but there's a lot of conversation around, like, I'm sure Sam can share, like, are you going to sell first party or third party? That would be, do I want to be the seller on record on Amazon, or do I want to let another company, a third party reseller, take the risk and take the liability and manage it that way? So you've got, first party relationships, and you got third party relationships, and third party sellers that jump into the game too. So again, I just wanted to call out here, there's so many different business models, there's so many different approaches. So when we talk about e-commerce, generally speaking, it's hard to just assume it's one model, and it's always changing. Now you have things like Temu popping up, AliExpress, TikTok Shop. Something just worth noting. I have two stepsons that are 17 and 20. The last five purchases that they made were not in a physical retail store. It was not on Amazon. They bought it through the TikTok shop. Now, granted, we're not talking home furnishings, but I think it's worth pointing that out because more and more transactions are occurring directly on, like, through Instagram, through Pinterest, through TikTok. So it's a ever evolving landscape. So what does it take? So I'm often, or I'm going to say in a past life, I was often approached by varying brands, some international, some domestic, that said, "Hey, we really want to sell online. What does it take?" And for a brand, if you want to assist a company to get online, there are certain things that they need to do and be aware of before they can even try. You've got to have the proper setup in place, the proper foundational pieces done and kind of locked in before you can even really get anything listed online. For the most part, that's a U.S. entity, a tax ID. You've got to have a warehouse and a warehouse address, a U.S. bank account, all these sort of things that we don't really think about. But as sales reps, we're often, approached by companies that are looking to break into various markets. Sometimes it's a territory, in the US. Sometimes it's the online market. It's the same. So we have to be able to educate them on what is required to be successful. There are operational demands. Logistics is a massive part of this. I saw my good friend Scott Kay was on this call. He's on the logistics side of it, and he can tell you firsthand what it takes to service some of these large e-commerce customers. It's a bear. It's a very different set of standards than what you might have to deal with shipping, your brand's goods directly to a retailer. There's usually more touch points along the way. So packaging is very important. Speed of delivery, speed of order acknowledgement, and just ship speed altogether to meet those customer expectations. And then, I really wanted to call out here that e-commerce sales reps, while sometimes we may think of them as sort of the redheaded stepchild or a competitor to the traditional field rep, they are facing similar challenges as most reps in the field. It's very much relationship driven. You have to be a strong communicator. You wear many, many, many hats. Everything from being, not just an expert in the product itself, but you have to be kind of an expert storyteller. You're selling something based off of a picture or off of a description or both. You've got to understand the technology piece of it. It's can you build a marketing calendar? It's photo and video editing. I mean, you do it all. Just like a brick and mortar store, every customer online is different. They have their own unique set of setup sheets, standards that they require, marketing allowances, you name it. But everyone is different, and you have to take a unique strategy and approach for each customer. Just like for a rep in the field, it's a ton of risk. It takes usually on average about a full year for a SKU or for an item to really not just peak online, but to really find its stride, to find that level of consistent sales to where you can really forecast for it. So there's a lot of risk involved with, hey, I want to represent this brand. I'm going to spend a year of my time getting this product on site. And then if the brand goes away or they can't manage their inventory, it can fall apart very quickly. And then just like a rep, out in the field, once you find that success, once you start seeing those sales, it's continuous refinement. It's communication with the various buyers, the point of contact or account managers from those companies to really nurture that growth. You're trying to support the existing items and business while adding new SKUs and taking market share from your competitors. So there's a lot of similarities out there. We may not be behind the wheel as many hours of the day that a field rep is, but we're in front of a screen and dealing with spreadsheets and all that fun stuff, which is just as tedious. So I really wanted to call that out there because it's a very similar model than the rep in the field. It's slightly different tasks, but you're achieving the same goals. Um, so a couple of challenges I wanted to call out. This is super high level. Really what it boils down to is logistics, operational performance. That is very much what makes and breaks someone online. It's not so much products, and pricing is very important, obviously. But it's a very, very competitive landscape. It's a very oversaturated landscape, especially right now. But there are high expectations around operational performance, and those key metrics impact your sort rank. It can impact your algorithm. You might have the greatest product, let's say on Wayfair on Amazon, or we'll use Wayfair as an example. And I'm happy to share a real example. I had a company that I used to work with where we had a rug that was a bestseller for All Modern, which is one of their, what they call specialty retail brands. So it's kind of like you're getting extra exposure, extra visibility, because this is supposed to be like the top 1% of SKUs. And so they put it in that specialty brand where they're investing more marketing dollars. And that product went out of stock. And so it went from, let's say, $100,000 a month in sales to 10. And we were never able to hit that peak again because it just went out of stock for so long. And so we lost that slot. And just like if, the brand that you represent in the field has a quality issue or you can't get the product in time, you're going to lose that slot to a competitor. So it's very similar. If you can't meet the expectations, oftentimes you won't even be eligible to have a place in those specialty brands, or to have a flag that says, oh, this person ships in 2 days. You have to be able to do it. So there are certain metrics that you are required to hit. You have to maintain a certain level of damage and defects, or stay under a certain level there to remain viable online. So the operational piece, I can't stress it enough, and the logistics side of it is so key, because without it, you can have the best pricing and the best product, but if you can't deliver, if you can't meet those expectations, it's dead in the water. There's a lot of costs involved, especially up front during that first year. It's heavier on the front end of things when you're trying to build momentum on a product. So there's I would say a pretty high acquisition cost, and you have to be willing to stand out in a very crowded market. So it's often done through pay-per-click campaigns, where you're paying a certain amount every time someone clicks on your product. So you receive a special treatment. We've all seen a sponsored product online, or a targeted Facebook ad where it's popping up. So every time someone clicks on that or views that, they're paying for it. So there's a lot of front end costs on that. And then really, again, it just boils down to, are you meeting customer expectations? It goes back to a lot of the logistics and supply chain piece of it, but are you delivering on time? Are you providing a good experience? Is it showing up damaged? And if you can't meet those things, it's kind of doomed to fail. And just before we get into some of the other pieces and turn it into a conversation, I really just wanted to focus on a few things that have helped me, and I'll open it up to anyone else that's got the experience here on the call. Sam, if you want to jump in too, but just sort of like the basic recipe for success. And really that always starts in every good rep, whether you're in the field or selling online, you understand what are the goals and the strategy for the company. You need to know what channels they want to play in. You need to know what do they want to sell on Wayfair? Do they want to be listed as their brand? Do I want to be Steve's Furniture, or do I want to let someone white label my product and call it something else? Because I want to protect my brick and mortar retailers. So every company has their own unique set of goals. So it's understanding those goals and making sure that you build your strategy to meet those specific goals and have some benchmarks and along the way, and make sure that when those goals are set by the company, that the company is prepared to meet them. It has to be a two-way street. It doesn't work. Just like again, I'm going to draw this comparison all day. If you're not getting what you need from your manufacturers as a sales rep, it's pretty darn hard to sell their products or keep it placed. You can have a great relationship with a retailer, and if the brand isn't delivering what they say it's going to or meeting those expectations, it's that relationship that's on the line. I think it's no different for anybody who deals with any of these e-commerce customers. It's the company's got to meet those expectations too, and if they're not, you've got to be willing to communicate what they're missing. The next thing I think is so critical, and it's kind of an often misconception, is you've really, really got to pay close attention to the costs for doing business online, because in many cases it is higher than people assume it is. I know that when I've worked for companies, either as an employee or an independent contractor, there's usually that wholesale pricing that a retailer is going to get, or there's the container pricing that a retailer is going to get. And then they take it and mark it up and say, oh, this is our e-commerce pricing because we want to protect our brick and mortar retailers. And that's fantastic. They should. But there are a lot of other costs associated with doing business online. Like most platforms, like we'll use Wayfair as an example. I think the typical allowance that they require is 5% for damage and defects. And then, they have a return policy that's sort of funky and it changes, and it's based on buyer's remorse. They'll usually come to you and ask you for an early pay discount of 2%. So you've got all these other costs that are going to just eat away at your margin. Amazon used to be 14%. I don't know what it is now. I think it's probably more than that as far as costs for doing business as a first party. But everyone has cost built into doing business with those platforms. There's the cost of advertising if you're going to do those pay-per-click campaigns and try to boost your product. A lot of companies require or want you to offer up samples or free samples to build reviews. So there's a cost of getting those reviews, whether it be a dollar amount in rebate that you give back if someone leaves a review, or providing free samples. And then, as we've all seen, I'm sure everyone probably knows that there's always a sale online. So promotional periods and discounts are frequent and common. And so you have to build that into your pricing structure in order to maintain some sort of integrity with your margin. And then there's also things like, okay, well, this is a good selling product, but the photography sucks. We're having this issue with it, or the damage rate has gone up, so we need to add V-boarding or packaging to it. So there's all these little nuances that can impact pricing. Again, working with your brands and any of their solution providers to improve operations or make some efficiencies there. You've got the digital content. And then most importantly, the one nice side about a lot of these online platforms is they have a ton of data available to you. Hey, this is what your top 10 performing SKUs are. This is what the consumers are looking for. I mean, a lot of these companies will share that type of information. So it's making those data-driven decisions and improvements. And last but not least, just focusing on the basics, which is for e-com, it's content is king. Every little piece of, I don't know if anyone's ever seen like a Wayfair or Amazon upload sheet or one of these detailed spec sheets that they require, but it has like hundreds of fields of information that you have to fill out. It's a great time. It definitely has shaved some years off my life. And driven me crazy. But those features and benefits and all those little details that they ask for, those are what drive their search engine. So when people are on site filtering, I want a brown sofa. Well, what kind? And there's a million different features and benefits that they can filter down to. So the more product information you have and the more content that you have, increases your chances of having someone find your product. Getting in and creating your own content, telling the story through written words, having amazing digital assets like great photography, both of the product by itself, in environmental scenes. That's something that can show the size and scale of it, something with the dimensions included. I don't know if anyone's ever bought anything off of Amazon that looked huge and looked really great. I know my dad has purchased stuff for my daughter, his granddaughter, and he's like, "Oh, I thought it was going to be this big, huge thing, and it was an inch." So there's a lot of, which again plays into, are you providing a great experience for that end consumer? It's going to impact your reviews. It's going to impact just all of that. All of these things will either boost or drop your sort rank, which really it's all about visibility online. So it's, do I have great content? Do I have good images? Do I have the ability to promote my product? Do I have that built into my pricing, and not run into losing money on an item? Do I have it positioned well from an inventory perspective? So it's all the things. And then am I willing to go back and make this constant, like, can I fine tune it? Can I make this better if I change these keywords? Will it get better results if I change this image to be the lead image? So there's a lot of moving parts. It's not just a set it and forget it, which I think is what a lot of people assume that the e-com reps do. It's those constant refinements and constant management that makes it a little bit more complex. And then lastly, and then I'm going to open it up. I wanted to share a few thoughts about how I think e-commerce can really help brick and mortar, or how they could use it to add to their business. If a retailer is willing to take that omnichannel approach, or have a e-commerce based website, they are essentially creating like an expanded product offering. They're showing whether their full assortment, whether they have it in the store or not. So it frees up those inventory dollars. It allows them to showcase their entire assortment, and it gives customers the ability to research those products ahead of coming to the store.
Boy, that does wonders for my Christmas spirit.
Can you still
my Christmas anxiety. I spent the whole morning basically stalking performers on social media.
Bear with me for 1 second. I need somebody. There we go. Sorry about that. So it also, in addition to being able to showcase the entire assortment that a retailer has access to and can do, it also opens up the ability to advertise a little bit more, either through social media and their own platforms, or if I'm searching for a product, I might be able to get it locally at this store, as opposed to shopping online, which I still find at 40, I'm going to get a better experience if I do have that local interaction, or if I do have the local company handle it for me. I know who I'm dealing with. And I've got somebody, so it keeps them, it levels the playing field there if you do have it listed online. And just like with an e-commerce sales rep, the retailer could then have access to those same sort of data-driven insights, where you can see, like, all right, what are people clicking on? What are people actually converting on? What colors what are they searching for? And those metrics can really help guide like inventory decisions. It might help them reveal some trends that are popular in their area. They might be able to prioritize higher performing products for online versus in store. I know a lot of companies that will only start out online. I think Rooms to Go, I've dealt with them in the past where, a product that was selling on Rooms to Go online performed well enough to where they decided to roll it out into the stores. So it's a good way for some of the omnichannels to grow their business and take less of a risk. And I'm sure there are many other things that we could talk about there and how they could use it to their advantage. And I also want to call out that there are a ton of really great systems out there in place and companies that IHFRA, I would say, has relationships with, or just members of IHFRA that really provide a lot of those services, that can give them that endless aisle experience, that can help them with the website portion of it, or the transactional piece, or everything to the final mile portion of the delivery. So I think the tools are there in place, and sometimes the best way that we can help them, or a rep can help them, is to really listen to what their needs are, or what the barriers are for them. And if it is something about like, well, I don't think I have a good 3PL solution, or I don't think I have the warehouse space, or whatever it may be, odds are, if you're willing to reach out to us or the community at large, we can probably help solve that problem for you. So that's where I'm going to share, or stop sharing my screen, and turn it over to the group. But actually, before I do that, I'm going to ask Samantha here, Sam, to jump in and just add to anything I said or shared, or if there's any other things that maybe I missed, dive in, and then we can just really kind of broaden the conversation a bit more.
Where I really want to start is where John and Larry were saying, like, what are the assets, or like, what are the tools that I could utilize that e-commerce has done that I can use on the road? And that's a big topic because there's so many. And I love that any manufacturer that I'm working with, or you guys are working with, who are investing in e-commerce content, are investing in things they don't want to invest in, they didn't want to invest in 10 years ago. They're spending money on something where they're not going to see the return on investment for a while. And that's okay, because what's happening is e-commerce content, we have 1 second to grab that person's attention. We have 3 seconds to grab their interest, and we've got like 10 seconds to create an emotion. And we have to do that through content. And so it's a silent salesperson, which is completely different than training our salespeople in the store. And in store, we do features and benefits, right, Steve? Like, we've always done this. Features and benefits. We all do it. And online, it's benefits than features. We have no time to create that emotion. And so manufacturers who are investing in that emotion and creating that emotion have that leg up. We can use the tools on the road through app, using that content through app. Having the iPad, having a curated selection when you're sitting with a buyer, and ultimately taking those reviews that you're getting online with the buyer. Like, this one's got a 4.9 review of 522 reviews. Let me go over the top 3 that people are saying. These are tools that you can ask your manufacturers for to be able to use on the road with the buyer, which I absolutely love, because nobody was investing in content like that before e-commerce. Personal experience. I hate no feedback because nobody's saying anything. Everybody's on mute. The other thing is using the data. So online data, we're able to see how people are interacting with the products and the sales data and the forecasts and the competitive landscape, and see where's missing. And we've never been able to use that kind of marketing data before because, typically we're flyers, we're online, we're Google, and there's not enough data to use as a business case to help the brick and mortar and the e-commerce have an efficient operational system. And so there's a lot of insights there that we can utilize throughout both ecosystems. I love the manufacturers that are investing, in e-commerce, because it really is investing in the hard work for brick and mortar sales. And that leads into, if it's in store, it better, but please have it online. because the consumers are 50% of the consumers are starting to shop on Amazon before they're starting to shop their local stores. So if the product's not online, what's in their store and looks good, feels good, gives a personality, creates an emotion, that's where we need to start. If they don't have it on their website, there's so many partners, as Steve mentioned, that we can have it on their website. It doesn't even need to be transactional. It just needs to be there. And the other place to put it is on Google My Business, because they don't need to spend any money on Google Ads, but it needs to be on Google My Business, those amazing lifestyle images, because it creates a personality. And when they like what they're going to get, Saturday, I'm going to go out shopping. Who am I, search near me furniture stores, who am I going to see? And so you can help with them on their advertising side, bring that customer in store as well. So that's sort of the tools that the e-commerce overlap. And I think the last one I want to touch on, Steve, is drop shipping. So your manufacturers, all of them are drop shipping. They're doing it for e-commerce right now. And so you have an opportunity to test certain things with your buyers to say, hey, these are top sellers. It can either be LTL or parcel, and we can add them to your assortment, to your website, and they don't need to be warehoused. And the cost a lot of the time is not much different. It might be $10 more. And this is an opportunity for them to test a category that they don't want to do, like lamps. Like, oh, our lamps don't sell. Okay, great. Do they sell online? Well, no, we don't put them online. Well, let's do a promotion. Let's do a giveaway. Let's do something where we can add on sales that it's online only and it ships directly from the manufacturer to the consumer. Why not? Keeps their operational costs down, and you can use that e-commerce data to take the top sellers to put those online. So there's lots of crossover as well.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. There are several brick and mortar companies that are actually taking that approach now to like you said, test items. I think I looked through the top 125 list. It's probably been close to a year ago now, but at the time, only about 20 of the true, like what we would call top 100. So maybe 1 in 5, 1 in 6 actually had some sort of transactional website where you could buy something online. But that number is changing. Even if it's just a small regional play. Again, the advantage there is, if you are working for a manufacturer that has a warehouse program, has stock, if they are currently drop shipping for any e-commerce account, yeah, why not? Why not test out 5 SKUs? Let us put it on your website. You do not need to touch it. You don't need to own the goods. They are just acting as a throughput. You're essentially just tapping into their customer base online through the website. So it's very
use
very
it as a data tool to
Yeah.
be able to get that slot in store.
Yeah.
I'm doing that with a retailer right now. We're 100% e-commerce, but it's the goal for myself is to have a gallery in their store, in their 19 stores. So it's not just one store. Like I've got a long-term goal, and we started with e-commerce only, which is new for them. Yeah.
Okay. So
Steve, Sam, just want to add a comment. I've been with a couple of companies that have warehoused. They're import companies that have domestic warehouses. They offer a wonderful website. They sell directly to the consumer as well as to the retailers. And the area I've had problem navigating is, obviously I'm trying to get retailers to sample the goods so the vendor, the manufacturer can send some of the people that get on their website in to see product. And unfortunately, it's not happening as much as I'd like to see it. And until my dealers sell something, I don't get paid. And I want to figure out how do I use basically e-commerce to support both my dealer and my bank account. And that's the key. The other thing I've seen, as you mentioned, there's about maybe 1 in 5 of the top 100 retailers are utilizing this. And I know I'm in Florida, and I know there's a number of people in Oklahoma, Texas, California, and New York basically that are selling and shipping into my territory as retailers that don't floor product, but they have it on their website, comes into my territory. What do I get? Obviously, I get nothing. And I'm just, how do we control this asset? This is a great asset. There's no question about it. It's a great way to get product in front of the consumer. But in our industry, as reps, 1099 reps,
Yeah.
how do we make this work for us?
There's a few different things in there. First of all, it's the wild, wild west. And we
For
are
sure.
literally in the wild, wild west. And it just, that's the place we are. We're not going to change it. So what are we going to do about it, right? And, Endy was a good example. It was a direct to consumer mattress company that wanted to grow their share of business. And what they did is they went to the retailers and said, hey, people want to try our mattresses. And so if we put them in your store and drive that traffic to your store, you know, is that something you'd be interested in? And the retailer's like, sure, how do I make money? And the reps are like, sure, how do I make money? And it's when they sell it in the store and they give the customers a code. If they don't buy in the store, they give the customers a discount code. They use that discount code and it goes back to the retailer and the retailer gets the sale. And so there was lots of different ways to try and test that were a little out of the norm. I know GhostBed is looking for retailers that are doing that same sort of thing that will pay the rep and the retailer, give them credit for the sale. There's lots of opportunities if people are thinking outside of the box. The other one is really make sure that they are trying to get the customer when they're ready to buy. The reason why, they're getting it shipped to Florida and they're getting the sale out of New York is because they're being found when the consumer is ready to buy. If you're our brick and mortar retailers are either at the phase where they're retiring or they're kind of in the middle of the road, or they're really, really hungry. And it really kind of has to do with that generation and how much work they want to put in. For those that are ready to retire and they just still don't believe in online, there's only so much you can do. If they've got that, second generation in that's a little hungry, then there are amazing tools for like $200 a month. They can have transactional website. They don't even have to upload their own content. We've got the furnituredealer.net, we've got Renaissance, we've got other guys that already have all of the data that they can easily make a transactional website. Really driving that home. If they're hungry enough, there are so many tools, but they've got to invest time and energy into it. And you can help them with that. You're going in, you're like, okay. And if they have all that, then let's go to the next level. Let's talk about Instagram advertising. And if they're really, really hungry, let's talk about TikTok advertising. There's so many ways that we can get in front of the consumer when they're ready to buy. And if you're losing those sales, it's because somebody else is doing that already. So I'm sorry, but it's the wild, wild west. We've got to just try to take every single one of our retailers and help them with their operational costs. If we can increase their sales by 20% and take their operational costs and increase it by 1%, that compound profit is going to make them money and me money.
Right. I just like to see these retailers show their product so they can represent what the manufacturer is offering to the consumer. And I guess I have no problem with that. In fact, that's basically what I've tried to sell out there is get product on floors so they can have the e-commerce support of a vendor. And
Different ways of doing it. Start with the reviews. Be like, hey, this is the review on this item. They're like, cool, what's the item? Great. People are saying great things about it. Here's the data. Here's, we're going to stock it. Here's the forecast. What's the item? Oh, that's ugly. Yeah, and it sells. Let's put it on your floor. Different ways of approaching things. One more slot will be that 20% growth next year for you.
So Sam, I got a quick question. Where do you get the data?
From your manufacturers.
You think they've got it?
They've got it. And if they don't, pester them because it's there. It might need a junior person. Like I've got a manufacturer, and even me saying the reviews, I haven't captured all my reviews. and I'm not going to spend $10,000 a month for review capture.
Right.
I'm going to spend the juniors' time and I'm going to get them to scrape the websites. I've got great website scraping tools that he can capture all of that, put it in a nice presentation, and, give it to the brick and mortar reps.
Okay.
Yeah, they have it. Don't stop it. No, this is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I just some I think are more advanced than others, obviously.
I agree. We won't go there.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. But if they're selling online, they have the data.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Anybody
almost gonna
else?
say, I think so many manufacturers, John, are like so resistant to everything has got to be about protecting their brick and mortars or got to protect, got to protect, got to protect. And if they would share that type of data, I think you could benefit their brick and mortars and also usually, I'm going to say usually speaking, help grow their online channel as well. I worked for a company where I had one set of occasional tables. It flew off, but they would only base the inventory, like when they were planning and doing their forecasting, they were basing it off of brick and mortar, not what I was projected to sell, which was like 200 of these little sets a month. And
Yeah.
and so I was constantly in and out of stock, in and out of stock. And I'm like, no, why don't we just tell your retailers, hey, this is how much we're doing online, and use that as a selling tool to get it in more retail stores. So that way we had more inventory flowing on a more consistent basis. But
I wouldn't even say online. I would say these are the reviews. Like, here's
yeah,
what people are
yeah,
saying.
period.
Here's the data. And you're missing out. They don't need to know that it comes from e-commerce because you don't want to put that in there.
Yeah, but I think maybe to come full circle on all that, Larry, if you are working for companies that do sell online or have an e-commerce department, take the initiative and talk to them and say, hey, tell me what are the top 10 bestsellers online? What sort of reviews do they have? What's trending? Because that
Yeah,
just
what's
gives you
trending?
more ammunition when you go into your retail stores to get those items placed.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. That is true, and I've been fortunate, and I've not had any problem getting information from the vendors I've worked for. It's just trying to assist the brick and mortar dealers in
Yeah.
growing their business, like Sam has said, because they need to somehow utilize the e-commerce tool to help build their business. And I guess my concern is the strictly e-commerce business that has no place for the consumer to actually sample and try out the goods, check it for comfort, size, all those good things. And I don't know how I'm not going to stop that. Obviously the wild, wild west is taking over, but sometimes I think, I've been an independent rep for 40 some years, I look back to the time when everything was made here in the United States, and life was much easier because you placed an order, it was built, and it was sent to the retailer, and then from the retailer to the consumer. Obviously, all that's changed.
Yeah.
Now, basically, what we're seeing online is a lot of companies that inventory stock merchandise, and they basically push what they stock. And sometimes it's hard to get enough feedback from the marketplace if all you're pushing is what the manufacturer's stocking. You got to get goods out there. You have to get in the stores as a rep, listen to the people on the floor, the sales representatives on the floor, to find out what you need to be selling. And I'm concerned that we as reps are becoming less important to the overall picture. And that's not what I wanted to discuss here, but I had to bring it up because
Yeah.
it's not getting easier out there. And I'd like to find a way to use all the tools we have at our disposal to support my retailers and to support my family as well. So that's kind of the bottom line for me.
One of the other data points that you made me think of, Larry, was that if you dig deep enough into the data, and the manufacturers may not know this at the beginning, but the data is there, is that they can use a lot of regional sales data as well. And so we've got your brick and mortar regional sales data, then you have your e-commerce, and somewhere it doesn't overlap perfectly. And there's an opportunity to look at what's selling regionally, let's say in Florida, that is not on the floors. And so, leaning in more to that data to help those retailers is another opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just I think, Sam, you've already covered this, but I would just like to reiterate that there are so many, I don't want to say, low cost solutions. If a retailer does not have some sort of website or e-commerce solution, um, there are some pretty turnkey solutions out there that do a lot of the work for them. And then there are to build that business and to have that website or even transact on it, there are plenty of service providers out there who can handle the white glove delivery if the retailer themselves wants to outsource it. But most of them want to keep that in-house. And then alternatively, there are some great partners out there that operate within the industry, like from a marketing perspective, that are like, oh, if you're down in Florida, and let's advertise these products because it's this style and which resonates well with this demographic, and so we're going to take a very targeted marketing approach and promote those products specifically. And I don't know, maybe it's downtown Miami, Florida, where this product would resonate really well. And so it obviously we don't have all the answers. Not Sam doesn't, I don't, y'all don't. We don't collectively have all the answers, but I think if we take the time to listen to the pain points, we could probably get them to the right solution, and that in turn is kind of what a good rep does, right? You're providing a solution which will hopefully benefit everybody. So I think again, just to reiterate, just helping educate the retailer. If there are pain points, I'm sure Sam would not mind if you called her and said, hey, I've got this retailer and they don't have an e-com solution in place. Could you recommend anybody or recommend services or companies that could handle this? Or if you called me, I'd be happy to take a stab at it. We all want you to win and the retailers to win. Because I think the reality is more and more of them will need to be omni-channel in order to stay relevant as time goes on.
Yeah, I agree.
Really good segue, Steve, into what is next. What's next in the industry? And one of the things that we are seeing is using that data for e-commerce players and starting to open. We've all seen it. We can give you many examples. And what they've realized is that they are listening to their customers. And yes, people want to have that emotion, which is a very different emotion. It lasts longer when you're in store visioning that piece in your home compared to online. We can do the best that we can online, but creating that experience is sort of that next step. But it's very, very data driven. And so again, it kind of goes into the tiers of where is your brick and mortar retailer? Where are they on that trend? Are they ready to start to be data driven, or if they're just going to run the business as they always have, please, 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 at least Google my business. They can do one image of yours a week. It really, really, really helps. I cannot tell you from an analytics point of view how much that helps. So what's next? What's next in the industry?
Oh, I wish I had that answer, but well, just to be respectful of time, I do want to make sure that we at least open it up to anyone else that's on the call or that hasn't had a chance to really chime in, or if there's any questions or any specific challenges that you're facing or want more information about a specific topic. Please, this is the forum for it. Let us know what can we do for y'all. Jay, are you good? Mr. Rube? Oh, he's going in and out. But Greg or Scott, anything y'all want to add? Thumbs up from Greg. Scott shaking his head. All right.
So I got a quick question. Where, I mean, I think to Larry's point, I mean, well, uh, the world's obviously changing, so we got to change with it. And where do we go? Or let me ask you, where do the consumers that we're targeting normally go to get information on products that they're looking at? Are they going to Instagram? Are they going to, well, no, I know that, but where specifically are they going?
The stats still are leaning towards Amazon first.
Okay.
The stats are then Google second, which was not there 5 years ago. I have not found accurate stats for TikTok yet, but TikTok is creeping up really, really fast.
TikTok just seems like a younger demographic would be going to TikTok.
No, you'd be very, very surprised. And because it's so algorithm based, it will feed you what is more important to your interests than it would if you were there when you're 16 years old. You won't even see the content that is what, your kids and grandkids and great grandkids are seeing. Like, you won't see it. And
Right.
that's the beauty of TikTok, is that it's very short form. The search algorithm is the best out there. And so I think that search is starting on TikTok over Amazon, but the data hasn't come in yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And going hand in hand with what Sam just said, I think there is and I don't have the data to back it up, so I'm take this for what it's worth, but the influencer market, I mean,
Right.
like,
Micro influencer.
yeah, that is very, very big. And
Yeah.
I think more and more people are turning to social media and Reels and TikTok, Instagram, all those platforms, but it's driven by these influencers that have large followings. I can think of a
Asking
dozen
your neighbor.
It's
Asking your neighbor, like, hey, I need a new sofa. Who should I go to? It's now going on TikTok and saying, hey, neighbor, hey, micro influencer, I need a new sofa. Who should I go to?
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And actually, there are several retailers that I've talked to that is where they're reinvesting their marketing dollars, or having reinvested their marketing dollars in 24 and plan to do so in 25. It's through social media campaigns and partnering with influencers. In fact, one of our board members, Cynthia Eco, she just opened up a retail operation in Chicago, and the first, I think, advertising dollars they spent were with local influencers, and to drive traffic into the store, and seems to be paying dividends. So um, it's wild, wild west, like we said.
Yeah. No, this has been great. This really has helped kind of open up some thoughts and ideas on how to, we just got to go where the consumers are these days. We can't just keep assuming they're going to walk into a furniture store and that's what they're thinking. It's not working that way. So we've got to figure out where they're going and start there, in my mind.
Yeah.
A quick question. When you said Google My Business, what's that? How does that work?
So each retailer can claim their business online. It's already there. So if you literally type in Google My Business, you should be able to see your online profile and claim it. And then you're able to change your hours, your pictures. What happens is that because it's a Google product, and when people are searching online, you will show up on a map, you will show up on reviews, you will show up. And so it's already there.
Okay.
They just have to claim it and manage it and own it. And it makes a huge difference when consumers are on their Saturday shopping. They only have so much time from store to store.
Good. Thanks. Yeah, that's good.
Anytime.
Let's see. Denise, anything you want to jump in?
I was just going to comment and say thank you for sharing and helping me understand how much I don't know. So it was really quite enlightening. At least I got some information that I can take. But it's amazing how much is changing out there at such a pace that, yes, being in the industry so long, we do have to stay on top of this and get engaged in it so that we can continue to be viable as a rep. If we're sharing this information, it's the only way we're going to stay in business. So I think thank you for this. It really helped me today in understanding what I need to know.
And then demand it from your partners. Your partners are the manufacturers and your partners are the retailers. You know, you have to advocate for your retailer and you need tools that may or may not be there. But if you don't ask, they won't necessarily offer them up. Yeah.
Thank you for the feedback, Denise. That means a lot. That's exactly why we're doing it. No. Anyone else? Any final thoughts, comments? I mean, the floor is yours if you want it.
No, I would just like to say thanks again very much. I mean, this has been good.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for the input.
And if there's anybody that has any questions on, the other side of that, of how to get that delivered to a customer, what's needed on that, please feel free to let me know or let Steve know, and he can reach out to me. And you guys are more than welcome to give me a call, and I can try to, guide you in the right direction anyways.
Yes. For anyone who doesn't know, Scott is an amazing, is a longtime IHFRA member, but also just a longtime logistics expert. I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember the company you're working for now, but Fragile Pack, it was Metropolitan, right? Like there've been a few.
Blueprint Logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some big differences, and that's why we went this direction.
Yeah. And likewise, just to echo that, I mean, if there are specifics or if anyone is curious about anything, be sure to reach out to us. I mean, I know I'm available. I'm not in it directly as much anymore, but I try to keep the tools sharp. I know Sam's in it every day in, day out, just like y'all are out in the field every day. So we're here to help. We're here to be a resource. So I suppose with that, I'll say,
when and where we will.
Go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
When and where will we be able to get a copy of the recording?
Recording and the PowerPoint?
Yes.
I will plan to upload this probably the first of the week, so probably Monday. And then I can send it out, and I can send the PowerPoint to y'all today, if you'd like.
Sure.
I'll send it to anyone who registered, just so they have it. And as soon as I get the recording, I'll upload it. It'll live on our website. But
that'd be great. I've been dealing with intermittent audio, so it'd be nice to have a better copy of it.
I've got you covered, Jay.
Thank you.
Of course. All right.
Well, thank you all, and happy holidays to everybody.
Yes.
Happy
Thanks,
holidays.
everyone. Appreciate it. Time. Happy holidays. Our next one should be, it's usually the last Friday of every month. We'll probably bump the last one this month into the first week of January. So be on the lookout for that one in a few weeks. But thanks so much, and have a great day and great holidays.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Sam.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye-bye.